I'm going to Sydney to visit many of Australia's famous landmarks, urban parks and botanical gardens, museums, markets, and learning about its politics, as well as lots of off-beaten-path attractions, and ending the visit by taking a breathtaking nature walk at the Blue Mountains and stargazing at Sydney's night sky. Not to forget, filling up with lots of inexpensive and tasty food. All free, all under 4 days. Anything I can do, you can do. Located on Australia's east coast, Sydney is the state capital of New South Wales and the most populous city in the South Pacific. Founded in 1780 and led by Captain Arthur Phillip as a British penal colony until the mid-19th centuries. The city has transformed into a major global cultural and economic center with an estimated population of 4.9 million and consistently ranked as one of the world's most livable cities. The Sydney International Airport is located around 9 kilometers south of city center. Although there is a public train to a central station, there is an airport terminal station access fee. So here is a budget alternative. So here I'm in the Sydney Airport right now. So what I recommend is you come to Terminal 1 or Terminal 3, and from here we take a public bus number 400. This number 400 Bondi Junction bus will drop you off at the Mascot Stop Urban Rail Station, where you can catch your train to the central station. And within very few stops, you've arrived here at Central. And most likely you could be exiting on this corridor to George Street. And it's also a good time for me to welcome you to Sydney. The Central Station is Sydney's land transportation hub. This is where you can catch buses and trains to and from other Australian cities. This is a small inner city suburb called Chippendale, and why I recommend you stay, as it is walking distance to many attractions.
Welcome to Castle Central.
I want to take a moment to thank my host, Castle Central Accommodation, for providing me with a complimentary bed during the filming of Sydney. They offer clean and comfortable private and dorm rooms at affordable prices. Best of all, it's only a few minutes walk from the Central Station, the Good Lines, and next to newly developed the Central Park, and free self-serve laundries. Our first attraction is Chinatown, located in the Haymarket between the Central Station and Darling Harbour. It's Australia's largest Chinatown, initially located in the rock era of Sydney, later moved to Market Street, and finally the current site since the 1920s. This is also home to the famous Paddy's Market. It's a flea market specializing in cheap imported clothes, giftware, and this is where you can pick up some bargains for tourist souvenirs. There's also a small section for you to pick up some fresh fruits, vegetables, and seafood. And oh yeah, you get free samples in lots of stalls. The Chinatown is also a great place for inexpensive food, most notably the Asian traditional pastries. But if you really need to fully fill up, go to the Eating World food court and you can grab a full meal for $8 to $10, a bargain by Australian standards. However, if you love seafood, you'll love the Sydney Fish Market. If you like seafood, you definitely have to come here. This is the world's second largest fish market after Tokyo's. It's where all the traders come at 4:30 in the morning every day to do their bargaining. And to the public, you can sample some fresh cooked seafood in many of the shops inside there. With that being said, let's go and check it out. The Sydney Fish Market incorporates a working fishing port, a wholesale fish market, a fresh seafood retail market, a seafood cooking school, and an indoor seating and outdoor promenade for the visitors. Before you start smelling too fishy, let's head over to Darling Harbour and get some nice shot of Sydney skylines. It's also a large recreational and pedestrian precinct that's situated on the western outskirts of city centre. Originally known as Long Cove, it was named after Lieutenant General Ralph Darling, who was a governor of New South Wales from 1825 to 1831. Today, it's a home to a number of major public facilities and attractions, including the Australian Maritime Museum. On our way to the next site, we also pass by the Town Hall, the seat of the Municipal Council for Sydney. Our destination is Queen Victoria Building, constructed between 1893 and 1898. The building is on the scale of a cathedral and designed by the Scottish architect George McRae, who had immigrated to Sydney in 1884 during the building boom. In 1897, the building was renamed to commemorate the Diamond Jubilee of Queen Victoria. Today, the building consists of 4 main shopping floors. The ceiling is decorated with 2 mechanical clocks, each featuring a diorama and moving figures from moments in history. On our way to Hyde Park, we can see the Sydney Tower nearby. However, it's a little too expensive, but I'm going to show you an inexpensive alternative later. Also located in city centre, the Hyde Park, the oldest parkland in Australia, is surrounded with many of Sydney's famous landmarks. From the very early day of the colony, the open area became the favorite place for sports and recreation. It was known variously as the Commons, the exercising ground, the cricket ground, and the race course. Now if you are short in time, well, I recommend you go down to Anzac War Memorial and walk all the way upward, and you will see this is one of the landmarks in Sydney, the Hyde Park. In the back of me is the St. Mary's Cathedral, another landmark here in Sydney. If you keep going that way, there's the Royal Sydney Mint, and right beside it is the Sydney Hospital, and right beside that is the State Parliament. And if you keep going that way, just a few blocks, you'll bump into the Botanical Gardens, and if you keep going, you'll bump into the Opera House. The St. Mary's Cathedral is a church of Roman Catholic diocese and the seat of Archbishop of Sydney. The first cathedral was founded in 1821 but was ruined by fire in 1865. The foundation stone for our current cathedral was laid by Archbishop Poling in 1868, who did not live to see it in use, as he died in 1877. Just a few minutes away, we visit Sydney Mint to grab some spare change. It's a free attraction. Located in the southern wing of Sydney Hospital, built between 1811 and 1816, paid with 45,000 gallons of rum to the contractors. It is known as Rum Hospital. It's the oldest public building in the Central Business District. The building was used as a coining factory between 1855 to 1926 after British approved the colonial government request to establish a mint in Sydney, which was the first branch of Royal Mint outside England. After mint operation ceased, the building was used by various government departments. Gradually, these buildings were planned for demolition until the activists led a successful campaign in 1979 to preserve it. Right next door is the Parliament House for the state of New South Wales. The facade consists of a two-story Georgian building, flanked by the two Gothic additions containing the parliamentary chambers.
That's the Speaker's chair here in the Parliament of New South Wales.
The Parliament of New South Wales is the main legislative body in the state and the oldest legislature in Australia. The Parliament is a bicameral, with the lower house being the Legislative Assembly and the upper house being the Legislative Council, both directly elected by the people of the state in a general election every 4 years. Also right beside the Parliament House is a state library, but I'll catch up on my reading later as we are heading over to the Art Gallery of New South Wales. This is the most important public gallery in Sydney and one of the largest in Australia. Established in 1871, the Academy of Arts early on bought some large works from Europe. The gallery's first public exhibition opened in 1874 and admission is free. The gallery holds a significant collection of Australian arts from settlement to contemporary, European and Asian arts. Today it presents nearly 40 exhibitions annually. The Australian collection includes dates from early 1800s and includes many iconic paintings and sculptures from the annals of the Australian art history. In 2003, a dedicated Asian gallery was opened. The space involved arts from all corners of Asia, including Buddhist and Hindu arts, Indian sculptures, South Asian textiles, Chinese chromatics and paintings, and Japanese works and more. Right across the road is a home to the oldest scientific institution in Australia and one of the most important historical botanical institutions in the world. So, what we got here is relax, contempt, discover, and enjoy. Walk on the grass, touch the trees, smell the flowers, and listen to the birds. Connect with the natural world and indulge your passion for plants. I can't agree more. Shall we continue? First opened in 1816 on a stunning position facing the Sydney Harbour, the garden is one of the most visited attractions in Sydney. It's open every day of the year and the access is free. To the immediate adjacent is one of 20th century's most famous and distinctive buildings. The Sydney Opera House is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a multi-venue performing arts center designed by Dutch architect Joran Hudson. The building was formally opened on 20th of October 1973. The multiple performance venues, which are together among the busiest performing arts centers, hosting well over 1,500 performances annually with 1.2 million in attendance. Well, upstairs is the Sydney Opera House and behind me is the Harbour Bridge, two of the most important landmarks in Sydney. Now I'm sure you wonder how I get to this spot and enjoy this magnificent view. very simple. You take any train that goes to a circular quay and get off there and walk 2 minutes and voila. And this is where we're going to end our day. Even though we are going to do everything on a budget, we still need some money in Aussie dollars, of course. And here's a trick. The best way to save money on foreign exchange fees is to see if your bank has a partner bank in the country you're traveling to. In my case, my bank belongs to the Global ATM Alliance, and their partner bank here is Westpac, meaning if I use any of their ATM here in Australia, I don't get charged. But there is one catch. They are tricky bank machines will ask you if you like to accept a pre-converted rate in your home currency. Never accept it. Their exchange rate are always worse, so just skip it and continue. Next morning, we are back at the Circular Quay station and begin our day here. It's also close to Rocks, the name for the historic area of Sydney City Centre, and there's the free The Rock Discovery Museum to learn about its unique history. It's a family-friendly museum which tells the story of the Rocks area from the pre-European days to the present. Housed in a restored 1950 sandstone house, the museum is home to a unique collection of images and archaeological artifacts found in this area. The exhibit also includes areas of traditional custodians, the establishment of English colony, and the time when sailors, whalers, and traders made the Rock their home, through to the 1970s, union-led protests which preserved this unique part of Sydney. The Rocks is also home to another free attraction, an important cultural institution, the Museum of Contemporary Art Australia, the only museum solely dedicated to exhibiting, interpreting, and collecting contemporary arts both from across Australia and around the world. The collection contains over 4,000 works by Australian artists that have been acquired since 1989. It spans all art forms with strong holdings in paintings, photography, sculpture, works on paper, and moving images, as well as significant representation of work by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander artists. But if you want to reach the sky, stargazing, you'll love Sydney Observatory, located on a hill now known as Observatory Hill at the opposite side of the Rocks. And you know, all this reminds me my fascination with the stars as a little boy after watching Carl Sagan's The Cosmos. This astronomical observatory is a free working museum. In some evenings, the visitors can observe stars and planets through a modern 40cm telescope and a historic 29cm reflector telescope built in 1874, the oldest telescope in Australia. I got to say, this is absolutely the biggest telescope I've ever seen. And if you come here at nighttime, there's also star viewing tours, but that has to be pre-booked. Next, we'll take a public ferry from the Circular Quays to the North Shore. The ferry is approximately $6. Alternatively, you can take the train to get across the Sydney Harbour Bridge for $3.50 on peak hours. The best way to get around the city is using the public transportation. I recommend you buy a prepaid reloadable Opal card which entitles you to a 30 cents discount on each trip and automatically deduct your fare from the store value. The card can be used on any train, buses, ferries, and light rail service throughout New South Wales and has an added bonus of maximum fare cap of $15 a day and weekly cap of $60 and $2.50 on Sundays. Sadly, the cap does not apply to airport station access fee. So to get to this breathtaking view, all you need to do is take a ferry from that side to this side and get off at Miles Point. The Mountains Point is actually a suburb located 3 kilometers north of the city center. It's named after the free settler James Nelson, who settled in the nearby area and established a profitable business supplying ships with stone ballast, fresh waters, and produce of his dairy, orchards, and vegetables. It's especially spectacular and romantic at night, as you can see the light from the high-rise dominate the Sydney skylines. After a whole day of adventure, I'm not going back without feeling up. So let's talk about eating cheap. Now with not much of a spare change, I can either start begging or be creative with my money by going and hunt down the cheap places to eat. With that being said, I think I'm a bit hungry, so let the hunting begin. I'm a supermarket fan, and this is where I pick up fresh fruits and subsidized milk. Many of them have a sushi bar and deli counter with freshly made sandwiches. However, I typically dine out at Chinese or Japanese restaurants as I get most bang for my buck. Next, as promised, I'll show you a free alternative to Sydney Tower by taking a marathon across the Harbour Bridge. So another thing that I'm going to do here in Sydney is to challenge myself by walking from this side of the bridge to the other side. And people have been saying it takes about 20 to 25 minutes. I think that will be a great exercise after all the food we haven't just ate. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. The bridge's design is influenced by Hell's Bridge in New York City. This is the tallest and 6th longest spanning arch bridge in the world. There have been plans to build a bridge as early as 1815, but construction didn't start until 1923. And ladies and gentlemen, please take a moment to enjoy the breathtaking, spectacular, amazing view of Sydney from the Harbour Bridge. Oh, let's not forget about the stunning night view. It's really romantic. But let's get high. Get a high view from the Sydney Harbour Bridge pylon lookout. For only $15 or $10 for students, you get to see the city from 87 meters above, and on the way to the top where you can discover the history and construction of Sydney Harbour Bridge, as well as those men who have built it in 3-level exhibits. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, please enjoy the round 2 of the spectacular view of Sydney. Next day, let's chill out a bit. We'll head back to a circular quay to take a ferry to the north coastal suburb of Sydney, the Manly Beach. The journey by ferry to the Manly Beach takes about 30 minutes, and as you can see, I really regret not bringing a warm jacket because I'm really cold right now, so don't make the same mistake as I do. The Manly Beach is about 10 minutes from the ferry terminal with lively shopping and pedestrian boulevards that leads to the actual beach. This is one of Australia's most famous surfing beaches. The first World Surfing Championship was held here in 1964 and the site of Australian Open of Surfing held every February. Australia is a hot country, so make sure to be well hydrated. The bottled water is pricey, however there's water stations all over the city, so save your bottles. Today, the last place we'll visit is the Olympic Park. It's about 16 kilometers west of city center. This is an area that was redeveloped for the 2000 Olympics. This is a cauldron for the 2000 Olympic Games held here in Sydney. And I'm standing right in the Olympic Park. I don't know if I can recommend people coming here because it's a little bit deserted right now. The facilities will continue to be used for sporting and cultural events, including the Sydney Loyal Easter Show, Sydney Festival, Stereosonic, Big Day Out, Soundwave, Sydney 500, and a number of world-class sporting fixtures. Sydney is well connected and there's free Wi-Fi all around with lots of coffee shops. But if you are a student of research university, most likely they are a member of EDU Rome, which means you can go to any of your member universities anywhere on the planet and use your internet access free of charge. In my case, I'm with the University of Toronto. And yes, one of the member institutions is the University of Sydney. Founded in 1850, it's Australia's first university and ranked in the top 10 of the world's most beautiful universities. I cannot agree more. It's also home to a free Nicholson Museum of Antiquities, Macleay Museum of Natural History, University Art Collection and Art Gallery, as well as the Rare Books Library. The last place we'll visit is spectacular, but a bit far. However, I think it's totally worth it. Today we are going to Blue Mountains and I'm going to get there by train via the Central Station. Remember, there is a $15 daily maximum cap on your Opal card, so make sure to take advantage of it and go far. The train ride takes about 2 hours and we'll get off at the Katoomba station. So from the Katoomba station, I hope I pronounced this correctly, either you can take a hop-on hop-off bus, which is pretty expensive, or you can do it the cheap way. I almost missed the public bus. You don't need to get across the street for a bus stop that serves Route 686. The nice thing about the public bus is it's also dropped off directly at the Lookout Pavilion. So there's no need for an expensive tour bus, but the view. Did I mention you need to wear something warm? No kidding. The Blue Mountain is also a UNESCO World Heritage Area covering 1 million hectares of sandstone cliff, bushlands, waterfalls, and dense forests. One of the famous rock formations is the Three Sisters. On the north is scarping of the Jameson Valley at the Echo Point. The commonly told legend is the Three Sisters live in the valley as Kantumba tribe. They fell in love with 3 men from the neighboring Nepean tribe, but the marriage is forbidden by tribal law. The brother were not happy to accept this law and decided to use force to capture the sisters. A major tribal battle ensued, and the sisters were turned to stone by an elder to protect them. Another great advice, don't wear flip-flops here. Bring your comfortable shoes because you are going to have a fantastic, breathtaking hike. With over 140 kilometers of walking tracks, this is a paradise for those who love hiking and exploring the underground caves. The problem here, like every single lookout point, so many of them, like they're all scenic, and I like to caution that hike can be challenging as some areas are unpaved or have steep slopes. I recommend you do not come after raining as track can be muddy and slippery from the rainwater runoffs. There's many waterfalls in Blue Mountain. One of them is Lyra Waterfall located at the base of the mountain. If you are bored waiting for the next bus back, don't worry. Right next to our bus stop is the Aboriginal Center selling indigenous artworks and handmade crafts. So, if you want to support the local indigenous population, consider buying them as gifts or souvenirs. There's a road builders memorial right outside. It's dedicated to the first settlement ancestors, which consists of convict road builders of the Blue Mountain. I returned to the airport the same way. From the central train station, I took a train to Mascot Suburban Station and transferred onto bus number 400 to the airport. And this concludes my visit to this magnificent city. With that being done, I hope you have an amazing time in Sydney. Don't forget to like, share, comment on this video, and subscribe to our channel. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and Flickr. Thanks for watching.